listeners, to the Common Briefing Program. This is the Common Geeking Program's news-oriented segment where each month we recap the hottest headlines in geek culture. My name is Colin Ketchen. I am your host. And recapping the month of June 2019 in geek culture, I am joined by...
Me, Austin. I'm here once again. It's the same crew, though.
It is. It's the same crew, but if we do you guys backwards, then it's like sufficiently different.
Is it though?
If we do it this way, it spells car.
I guess that's true.
I hadn't thought of it that way. Thank you. Oh, it's like how in a video game, they're like, hey, we want to make a new level, but we don't want to take up more disk space, so we'll just start you on the other side of the map. That's what we're doing. It's the other side of the map. Ryan, how you doing all the way over there up on that hill on the other side of the map?
Oh, I mean, I don't know. It's a slightly different color, and some of the enemies are red instead of green, but I don't know. It's like fine. I would say, I mean, I like this level. I guess playing it again in the reverse order is fine.
We have 1 hour to summarize what we think are the most important or impactful stories. June had E3 and WWDC and a lot of different stuff, so June is jam-packed with stuff. We're going to just try to bring you the things we think are the most important, and at the end, we are going to vote on our top story. So before we jump right into things, how are you two doing today? It's been a month since the three of us congregated. What's up?
Oh, jeez.
Oh, jeez.
It's been a hard June for Austin.
It just suddenly got very warm. I don't know. It's been all right overall. I don't know. There's some crazy shit going on in the world.
In the world is broad. About I think as broad as most conversations can get without being. You are a philosopher, so I suppose that's sort of the name of the game.
I'm a student. Yeah.
But I like to say I'm friends with a philosopher because it makes me seem more important.
God.
You know?
But isn't a philosopher all about being a student of life and even death? So you're always going to be a student.
You'd think. But, like, there's a kid in my program who just posts a bunch of Ben Shapiro shit on Facebook. So, like, you know.
Okay.
So you can't make any really...
You need to study up on your Obi-Wan prequel quotes so you can be like, you were supposed to use these powers for good. Something like that.
You're supposed to use this philosopher powers for good, not evil. You were supposed to argue real good and for good.
Yeah.
You're supposed to think about why we exist in a good way.
You were supposed to destroy the trolls, not join them.
Yeah.
And nobody can even agree on whether or not the trolls exist. So it's just it's a real shit show.
Yeah, that's true. You start talking to this guy like, why are you a bad guy? And then it's like your teacher's like, well, what is a bad guy? And then you're like, fuck. God damn it, every fucking time.
Yeah, but I mean, for me, the summer is relatively boring just because I'm not doing that much this summer. Next summer, I should be teaching a class, which will be wild. But yeah, not so much this summer. I'm just like doing my daily running and keeping the apartment clean. And I'm reading some H.P. Lovecraft, which is just...
It's the puppy version.
H.P. Lovecraft!
Oh no, Scruffles has found the secret of the abyss.
Yeah, and I don't know. There's some shit. E3 happened. I saw a lot of those. I think I saw some presentations that I really wish that I hadn't seen, but at least they all followed Brian David Gilbert's fucking formula for successful presentations. So that's good.
I think last month we talked about Brian David Gilbert's Polygon videos as well. Ryan, if you haven't, the Unravel series from Polygon is a delight.
Oh yeah,
and
I have to check those out. I don't know if I've ever seen them.
He breaks down how to either A, make a successful E3 presentation, or B, make them a drinking game, and it's very effective at both, so it's worth your time. since we're already on the topic of E3, let's jump into things. I'm gonna mix it up. Austin, how about you? You kick it off this week. What is in the month of June has caught your attention?
So I've got two things that are prepared that are two things, but I want to talk about a third thing first to make it the first thing, just because I'm interested and it'll take no time at all. Yeah. So the first thing that I'm really interested in is a new game from Software, the studio that made the Dark Souls and Bloodborne games, or at least they don't technically own Bloodborne, but they did all the hard work and stuff. They're making a game that's coming out. People are guessing it's going to come out sometime in spring next year, but it's really hard because they have a teaser trailer and they just recently released a quote-unquote animated version of their fucking logo for the game, the symbol of the Elden Ring. If I didn't mention that, that's the game. It's called Elden Ring. It's about this fantasy world, and it's going to use some Norse mythology shit, and there are pieces of this Elden Ring, I guess, that you might be able to collect. So you just get power. It's a fantasy game.
George R. Martin is involved. Did he just write the story? Like, is that what's he doing?
I think he helped write the world, right?
So actually, wait, no, I do know more about this. He wrote like the mythology for it, and then the studio wrote the story for the player in the game.
That makes sense.
Is what Miyazaki said.
Fucking Germ wasting his time again. Give me my books, Germ. Just give me my books. I want my books.
Yeah.
I'm tired of being told as a consumer of media I'm not allowed to want things. I want your books, Germ.
Yeah, so anyway, that's a thing that I'm excited for because it sounds cool, and it might be a little more colorful than some Dark Souls stuff, but it's still going to be pretty depressing if you've seen the trailer.
It didn't look colorful at all.
Okay, but you haven't gone through the Farron swamp or anything, so don't worry about it.
No, but I do understand that most texture assets in Dark Souls are like different shades of mud.
Yeah, it's real good. But so I think unless you're really angry at George R. R. Martin, I think there are two slightly more scandalous things that I think were interesting that came out of E3. Both from Nintendo, strangely enough. Those were at least presentations that I enjoyed. And so the two things I'm thinking of are, there's a new Pokemon game coming out in the fall.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And a lot of people are upset that it will not include the entire National Pokedex. Because, the Masuda cited, time constraints and space constraints in the game, and, wanting to make a particularly, high quality number of animations and stuff for the different Pokemon. So he was like, no, they had to make the hard decision, I guess, of cutting down the number of Pokemon that are going to appear in the game that you'll be able to transport from your old games into the new one. But they also have this new, thing in the Switch where you're going to be able to hold all of your Pokemon from previous games in a Pokemon home, and in future games, he says many of them will be able to go into different games. It's not like they're cutting out all the old Pokemon that
it's
weren't
just that
super popular
this game won't be able to access all of them.
Correct.
So I do know that the new region is the Galar region, and they're like, this is only going to contain the Pokemon that would be native to this. So we know that's going to be some new and some old. Do we know how many? Because I don't know what the actual Pokedex is at. It's at like 800, 900 something, right?
Right. So I think they said it was somewhere in the realm of 130 new Pokemon are going to be added if you count like new evolutions and new forms of old Pokemon. But the game will obviously include like hundreds of Pokemon. I wouldn't expect them to have like fewer than 300 species in a game that's supposed to be like open world and stuff. They have to have a lot of them, if not, the greater portion of them. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, a lot of people have been very angry, and I'm not sure whether people have a couple different takes on it. One is that they say that Game Freak is cutting corners, and they really have the ability to do this, and they're just being
that stinks.
Yeah, they're just cash grabbing, and you've got people speculating in the Facebook comments about how now they're gonna add all the new Pokemon as paid DLC that you get to buy if you want to put them in, and that one sounds ridiculous to me.
Well, because people are already paying for Pokemon Bank. Like, that money's already coming in.
Yeah.
I'm remaining silent because I have no idea what you guys are fucking talking about, but I love the drama.
No, it's Ryan, what's your favorite video game franchise? Like off the rip. Doesn't have to be the truest answer.
Oh man. Oh shit. Oh fuck.
Okay.
Probably like
I don't know
Elder
that
Scrolls
one.
or something. Probably.
Okay, imagine if in Elder Scrolls 6, like, instead of having all the different spells you're used to, you only had, like, flames.
I mean, I mostly
And
hit things with a sword real
Yeah,
good.
no, I
so
was
that's
thinking
fine.
we might want to say, like, you're only allowed to play as an Imperial or something.
That makes a lot more sense than my analogy. I panicked.
Okay, I kind of get it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Although maybe
Well,
it
I
wouldn't
get it
be
a little
that
bit.
drastic. You
I
only
played.
get, like...
I played the Pokemon when I was a child, and I went up to, I believe, Silver and Gold, and then I didn't have a DS after that. I don't think so. I couldn't play.
Yeah. I only played X and Y, and I've never cared, but I've been reading stories about this and trying to get my Pokemon player friends' opinions, because is this the first time that they haven't had, like, full forward compatibility?
Yes, correct. So in the last generation, Sun and Moon, they had a period of time during which you could not transfer old Pokemon into the new games. So it was like soft, not including the rest of the Pokemon. And a lot of Pokemon aren't included in the Pokedex in those games, in the sense that if you transfer some old Pokemon, they won't like put an entry in your Pokedex or anything, but they'll still be able to, like, they still function perfectly well in the game. They exist.
Yeah.
They just aren't part of your island book of monsters inside.
Saying a lot of words.
Another
I
monster.
understand most of them, but things like Island Book. What's an Island Book?
I'm just saying your Pokedex is like a book, but
okay.
the Sun and Moon, the region that you are in Sun and Moon is a chain of islands. So
Gotcha.
So I said
All
island
right.
book. Yeah.
Austin, I've been hanging out with, like, this group of friends too much because I don't play Pokemon, and I know this much about it. Like, I'm holding up in this conversation. That's strange to me. You said you had another Nintendo scandal?
Yeah. Not a scam per se. Yeah, but it's just
Good start.
Not a
it's
Nintendo
just,
scam.
I'm just very whelmed. Just completely
Okay.
and singularly whelmed by the announcements for they've announced the next two characters that are being added to the Super Smash Brothers Ultimate, and it's not, I mean, so people have wanted this one for a while, and Crash Bandicoot looks super fun, and he's going to be in the game.
Wait,
Crash
what?
Bandicoot?
Do you mean Banjo-Kazooie?
Oh, no, sorry. Yeah, no, I meant, yeah, I'm a goof. That
holy
would have been
shit.
crazy.
I was like,
used
how the
wrong
fuck
name.
did I miss that?
Yeah, no.
Yeah, Banjo-Kazooie. Okay.
Yeah, no, sorry. My bad. That was a lie. Let me start over again.
Okay.
But also let me get these out of the oven first.
Okay. Oh, I was trying to do you a favor, but
No, it's okay.
Let us wait.
Yeah.
what you baking?
It's just some vegetable samosas. Mini
I want
vegetable samosas.
I want the internet to have the image of Austin with his microphone headset holding his laptop recording a podcast while pulling food out of the oven. It's like it is millennial domestic bliss at its finest.
Yeah.
So Banjo-Kazooie.
Yes.
When you said two
Banjo-Kazooie.
characters, do you mean Banjo-Kazooie?
Yes,
'Cause
that
that's
is
one
exactly what I meant. If I had confused the other character for Crash Bandicoot in my head, that would have been way more confusing. But like, they're both furry animals with triangular shaped bodies. So
Okay.
yeah, so Banjo-Kazooie, but people have actually been asking for Banjo-Kazooie for a long time, and they recently announced or released like a remake for Banjo-Kazooie in the same vein that they're remaking like Spyro and shit recently. So this seems like a good time for them
They haven't
to do
done a
that, I think.
remaster, but like they've made it part of the Rare Replay. Microsoft's been putting on Game Pass and everything, so I think there's a chance because they own Rare that they might be gearing up to do a new Banjo.
Yeah, so it's happening, and that sounds fun. And people they look like a fun character. There's some silly shit. You get to, you use the bird to fly around, and you use the boy to hit stuff with the bird, and everything's crazy. But the next one, and I understand why they did this. Yeah, I understand why they did this from like the perspective that they're taking as a company, Nintendo, where they like to use Super Smash Bros. As like advertisement for all of their games. And if you play the character in Super Smash Bros., you're gonna be like, oh, if I enjoy this one, oh, this is really interesting. Where did this character come from? I'm gonna look into this series of game that they're in, and maybe I'll play it if it sounds like it's up my alley. Very effective advertising because it's a pretty lovable game with explosions and shit.
Yeah.
They have the hero from Dragon Quest. They have a character that is like They're releasing a new Dragon
I'm making
Quest.
a puzzled face. Oh, okay.
Yeah, they're releasing a new Dragon Quest game, and there's a character who's like your avatar in the game, and that's the character. It's just like another person with a sword. They do some spells and stuff. That they've got a shield, I think, and they slash and dash and jump around and stuff. But
don't we have enough Fire Emblem characters in the game as it is? Okay.
And the nice thing for people who care about Dragon Quest is that it's not just the hero from this new game. If you switch the color, you actually switch the character costume such that it's actually different characters from like previous games as well, so you can switch between like whichever one your favorite Dragon Quest game was or whatever. And so it's a fun thing, I guess, but like personally I don't care that much about Dragon Quest, and I know that there are people who like really love those games and they're excited to get that representation, but I'm like
I'd clock it at like underwhelmed.
It seems like it explores a possibility space that exists like between several characters that already exist, because it does.
Banjo-Kazooie interests me more, but from what I saw from the gameplay, he actually seems to be like a pretty slow character. Like, all things considered, like he looks like he'll be a little heavier than I expected, which I mean, it's a bear, so I guess I shouldn't be too surprised.
A bird, and he's gonna
it's a twofer.
Fucking beat the shit out of Duck Hunt Dog and Friend.
All right, cool. Thank you, Austin, for that. That was actually a decent amount of shit I didn't know about, and I share in your like, the hero. I'm just like,
hero.
I feel like you're lacking inspiration if you have to choose someone whose name is the hero.
Yeah, but I mean, again, they want to advertise for their games, and Dragon Quest, not one of their most popular games, so it makes some sense.
That's true. I would say to put in a dragon, but we already got 2 of them.
Dragon Quest is pretty popular.
No, it's pretty popular, but it's not like
in Japan. It's like the hottest. It's the hottest fucking thing ever, though.
Right, you're right, but we're not in Japan, and in fact, most of the world isn't in Japan.
Wait, let me look outside real quick. Wait, let me look outside real quick. I'm not in Japan. You're correct.
Right, you do not see the sun rising over your kingdom.
I do not, unfortunately. Oh, okay. My kingdom is but a single bedroom apartment somewhere in the Northern Virginia area.
All right. Well, then, in that note, let's visit your kingdom of influences and domains, Ryan. What are you bringing for Geek News in June 2019?
I got 2 things I want to talk about, and mostly because I for the most part, can't talk to them with most people in my life. Otherwise, they'll think I'm crazy. Except for a few friends, but even then, I feel like I'll start to bug them after the second or third hour of talking about it.
This is a safe space for this kind of thing, Ryan.
That's exactly what I was about to say. You are loved. You are supported.
Thank you.
We only judge each other in the post-credit.
Yeah.
Well, I've been doing it wrong because I've been judging you guys the entire time. But I thank you for the love. So the 2 things I'm going to talk about, one of them came up during E3, and the other one I think was a little bit before. It was announced maybe a little before. So first thing I'm going to talk about the remake of Final Fantasy VII. It has been announced for a long time now. I think they announced it 2015.
Yeah.
Holy
cow! And I actually
found
out recently. I was thinking about it. They showed. I think it was probably somewhat linked. They showed some update. Like they showed the intro for Final Fantasy VII or a cutscene for Final Fantasy VII to show the PS3 graphics capabilities when they were announcing it. So like it's possible they may have been working on this in some form or another for like a really long time. But this E3, they actually showed some gameplay footage. They've announced a release date, and despite everybody saying that it wasn't going to happen ever, it seems like they're pushing for it. Looking into like the past of some of the things that happened, they evidently had a lot of issues in development, and potentially they had to like remake the game twice, depending on which news source you go to. As Square Enix, I think Square Enix like subbed it out to somebody else, and I think that they didn't like the direction, so they ended up having to like go back. But long story short, we're not going to really talk about that. We're going to talk about the fact that Final Fantasy VII Remake, that is going to be coming out this, I think, March of 2020, is not actually a full-on remake. It it is going to entirely encompass. They say it's a full-length feature game that is going to encompass the Midgar section of the original Final Fantasy VII. Now, if neither of you guys have played Final Fantasy VII, Midgar takes anywhere between, like, if you're a speedrunner, maybe like an hour and a half, depending on how you play. To the regular person, probably like 5 to 7 hours. If you're
Wait, what?
Yeah. So they're saying that they expanded Midgar and they actually made it a full-length feature game. So I have some issues with this, and I talked a little bit to about some of my friends. I'm curious about many things, and I'm going to list them out. And basically, my thought process of staring at the Amazon screen where they have like a really good deal right now, where you can get like $15 or $14 off or something like that right now. So it's only Midgar, which is kind of weird. Super short section in the game. It's actually just like more of a prologue for the beginning of the game to set up like your intention and what are the shits happening in the world, and the fact that there's like some ecological crisis happening and you're fighting against it. So kind of set up the backdrop, and then it kind of releases you to this wider world where you basically circumnavigate.
You know what this smells like? This smells like Peter Jackson's The Hobbit.
Yeah, kind of. So the main issue I have is I'm very curious as to how much is actually there, because they said it's a full-length game. My issue with that is, are they saying it's a full-length like Final Fantasy game? Because a full-length Final Fantasy game,
they're big boys.
it's like usually around 60 hours, and if you do everything, it's like 70 or 80. So that is a lot of content to create for just Midgar.
Hold on a sec. Ryan, I have to ask you a question, because I've never played a Final Fantasy game to any substantial degree. And I understand Final Fantasy VII holds a very important place in a lot of players' hearts. So, you, as a player of these games, would you have been satisfied if it was the exact same game with a graphical overhaul, the way a lot of remasters and remakes are done today?
Oh, hell yeah. That's exactly what I want.
So the game is there.
The game is there. So I mean,
why don't they?
I like the. So I'd kind of be happy either way. I would love an expanded system where they change up some of the mechanics. They maybe broaden some things out so it's more open world. Because I mean, Final Fantasy VII, it had an open world, but you had a very kind of like trained on, head on story, and there wasn't a lot you could do in that world besides go from point A to point B and fight monsters in between. So like, not like Final Fantasy 15 where there's like cool things to see, and you could like rove around and find interesting characters, and you kind of choose a side mission and go from there. That would be cool. I would also pay money just to have the original remade and much better graphics with voice acting. Like actual really good voice acting, nice cinematics, everything looked really good, like crisp and clear. Because if I play it now, like, yeah, it'll hit that nostalgia button, but it's also like, I mean, it's of its time. It doesn't look good. Like, it doesn't look good to play. You're looking at polygons. So it leads on to my next issue. Because it's only Midgar, that means there are going to be multiple installments, and all these installments is because they've actually commented that they have not released a lot of information about how this is going to work, and that they are going to work on doing better about that in the future. I saw a little article, like a Sony president being like, yeah, we haven't been super clear about this stuff.
That means that they haven't figured it out yet, I'm guessing.
Yeah, so I'm curious, because Midgar is one of the shortest sections of the game. How many, like, if they're going to burn this into a series, how many games are we talking? Are we talking like 3 parts? Are we talking 4 parts? If they go by just Midgar size stuff, this is going to be like a 10-part game. And all of them seem to, I think the plan as it is now, I haven't heard anything that rebuts it. These are all going to be feature-length, full-priced games. So if I want to replay Final Fantasy VII,
you have to buy several games. Yeah,
I'm going to have to buy several full-price games over the course of probably at least 5-6 years, maybe, depending on how things go.
Yeah.
Okay, so on its surface, that aggravates me, but I guess if they find a meaningful enough way to expand it, wouldn't it be cool to see, like, hey, this one game is blown up into a series that is, like, diverse and rich? But I guess that also depends on, we'll have to see how well they execute on what fans want out of this.
We're not going to be able to tell.
It looks pretty good. I mean, it looks like Final Fantasy 15, which honestly, the combat was fine. It felt a lot of just like button mashing, but I mean, that's still more complex than, I don't know, some of the earlier games where it's all turn-based and you can take forever and kind of figure out exactly what you want to do.
Yeah.
So I'm okay with it. It
like
looks
real
fine.
war.
The thing I really have an interesting question about. So it's coming out March 2020. This is the first installment of a series. The PlayStation 5, I've been like, I think in E3 they said it was going to be coming out or maybe announced or something. I don't know if it's been officially announced or what, but I think it's supposed to be coming out the holiday season of 2020.
Yeah.
So they are starting a brand new series, which people are fucking bonkers crazy for. And they haven't really laid out the plan of whether, if I buy this on PS4 when it comes out, like you want me to do, because that's when you're putting it out, am I going to be able to get the next installment on my PS4? Am I going to be able to port over my save? Am I going to be able to do any of the things I normally would do? Because, like, initially, a long time ago, 2015, when they said it was going to be installment based, pretty much everybody was saying, that makes sense. It's going to be like a DLC game. Or it's going to be like some of the, I can't remember the name, but they're like, what is it? The Wolf Among Us, where
Telltale Games.
Yeah, Telltale Games, where you get like little chunks of it. And everybody was like super hyped for that because that sounds like a really good idea. That's kind of how you played it anyway. It was segmented into discs, like 4 separate discs. 3 discs, I think. So everybody was like, that's a great idea. Like, you could just get a little chunk every month or whatever, play through, and then, or you could just wait until the end and play it all the way through. So, but now it's, I don't know. There's a lot of questions. They haven't really answered a lot of it. And now a lot of people, if people are like me, they're either not going to buy it for the PS4 and waiting to find out what the plan is, or they're going to buy it and get really pissed when the second installment doesn't come out on a PS5. And they haven't said anything about some way to like save that, some kind of cloud storage for your save. Because a lot of it's how you customize your character. You're going to like how much you're grinding. Because a lot of people are going to, in the hopes of playing it in the future, the next installment, they're probably going to grind out their character in Midgar and like try and get a lot of experience and try and do all the like the little things. And if none of that moves forward, or if you have it on PS4 and it's non-transferable to PS5, they're gonna be really pissed.
Well, so because I'm going to talk about some stuff adjacent to this, I'm pretty sure PS5, they are aiming to make it backwards compatible with the PS4. I don't know the scope of those intentions, but I think that Sony also just recently partnered with Microsoft, ironically enough, to use their Azure platform, their cloud platform, Azure platform, to create to I guess like support a lot of their new gaming systems. And we don't know what that means, but it's probably going to be like more game streaming, cloud-based stuff, yada yada yada. And I guess it would be up to Square Enix to decide how transferable that stuff is. I think the technology is going to support it. It's going to be up to the studio and the publisher
it should
to implement it.
The smart money would be that they wouldn't try and piss off fans, and they would make it as easy as possible to play the next game.
That'd be the smart money, but look at what's been going on.
I'm still just suspicious that like what they do to expand each segment into a full game is like filling it with a lot of sort of insubstantial but time sync stuff.
That is a worry that I have, that they're going to put in like fishing, like, because there's fun things to do in Final Fantasy 15. Don't get me wrong, fishing was fun, like I fished all the time, but like if that is me, like, if they're in their calculation of a full-length game, they're like, well, it's going to easily take somebody like 5 hours to grind out all the different types of fish they can catch in Midgar, and then we'll do like some we'll add the camping system, so they can camp out on the streets of Midgar or something, and that'll like burn up some time because people liked that in our other game. Like I'm hesitant to how they're going to fill up the time.
Yeah, but like even if they try to like add a bunch of different stories that you can go interact with like side quests and things, like if they just do it with like a bunch of side quests that seem like they all have the same structure and the same, they make all the same beats, and I don't know.
I'd like to see what their inspiration is, because I will tell you, I have not done any non-essential fishing activities in a game since Big the Cat and Sonic Adventure. So fucking take notes, Square Enix.
So the next thing I want to talk about, and I think I have one more thing that I might tack on to the end. So it may have been this month, it may have been the month before. Dungeons and Dragons officially debuted the next adventure book that they're sending out. It is Baldur's Gate: The Descent into Avernus.
Oh.
So it is the first book that is going to kind of set up Baldur's Gate with actual kind of the same thing that with Waterdeep Dragon Heist. It was the first to set up like, these are specific institutions. This is how it has changed and stuff in 4E. So this is going to be the first one that does that. It looks pretty cool. I am curious because there's a lot of comparisons to Mad Max, which is cool, but also it'd been better if they had brought this out like 2 years ago when Mad Max was like super hot, and it would have made sense.
Well, Mad Max came out 4 years ago, but
4 years. Oh, Jesus, I'm old.
Yeah.
But yeah, it looks kind of cool. So it's going to take you from I think you start in Baldur's Gate, and there's some corruption and demonic influence in Baldur's Gate, and through that you are dropped in, or maybe not dropped in, but you may be visiting or dropped into the plane of Avernus, which is the first layer of the 9 hells, and it's going to embroil you in something called the Blood Ward. Do you guys know what the Blood War is?
No.
So in
Austin smiles
keep
mischievously,
going.
sinisterly.
So in Dungeons and Dragons, and I guess it's also in Pathfinder, the main thing is that there's a big war between good and evil, but also chaotic and lawful. So there's a big concept. There's a big concept that
doesn't have the same ring to it, but
in the way they kind of
chaos and law.
I honestly believe TSR kind of wrote themselves into a corner in describing the Abyss. See, the Abyss is like this infinite plane of bad creatures that are chaotic, and it's supposed to be like they're supposed to be innumerable. They're infinite. They never run out. And a lot of them are extremely powerful. But there's a logical question is, well, if there's an infinite number of them and they're very powerful, why don't they just take over everybody else? And the question to that is that they're already fighting somebody else, which is so it's the fiends versus demons, and then the daemons or Yugoloths in the center of everything. And the Yugoloths are neutral evil. So oh god, my fiance is gonna disown me. So the way that it's set up is that the powers of chaos are infinite and powerful but unorganized and are unwilling to take singular direction from anybody. They move in a horde, they don't move in a legion. The flip side of that is that I believe it's the devils. It's devils and fiends.
That is correct.
Devils and demons.
Yeah.
And they're all fiends.
They're both fiends, yeah.
Yeah, so the devils, they are extremely organized, but they have a limited number. So it's kind of like, what's better? A much larger force, but it's completely unorganized, and they're also probably stabbing each other in the back at the same time, or a very organized force that is doing everything it can to like singularly push these other people out. So it's a constant back and forth.
To be fair, the devils can recruit, though.
The devils can recruit, so that kind of what leads. So that's going to be a big part of the game. So there's going to be devil's deals that can actually be used to lure the adventurers and kind of like either give them a lot of power in the front end, but also use them to do some pretty awful shit on the back end.
Power in the front end was my nickname in high school, and destruction on the back end was my nickname in college.
So the devils recruit and they gain power through a lot of contracts with mortals. A lot of their stuff is powered by souls. So to get a soul, you have to make a contract. To make a contract, you usually have to give something. The demons don't really do that too much. It's going to be cool. The other thing that they are introducing, they have added battle-ready vehicles. They've changed the rules a little bit from Saltmarsh. So now there's supposed to be like Mad Max-style vehicles in this thing. So I'm very interested to see how this is going to play out. It looks kind of fun. I'm psyched as hell to play it. So another thing that I want to talk about, Stadia has just been officially announced, something I talked about previously.
Yeah.
And it is looking not good for the future of gaming. You have to pay a subscription price. Well, if you want to be a pro and to get on the ground floor, you have to pay a subscription price to be able to buy other games.
Yep.
So it's not looking good. There's supposed to be a free one, I think, but you're going to be really limited.
It's I think the pro level gives you like the controller as well as like pro bundles with the controllers, but also higher fidelity, higher frame rate, higher resolution.
It's supposed to give you up to like
this
4K.
Is just like the opposite of net neutrality. God.
So the pro gives you up to 4K. The regular, I think, does the top end is 720. But I mean, at the end of and they said you get some free games, but the free game they have currently is a free game to everybody. It's whatchamacallit? Oh shit, what's it called? Fuck, cut this out. No, the people that made the original Halo, they made a new
Destiny.
What was that game? Yeah, it's Destiny 2, which is it's on various times and places it has been completely free. So it's
the thing is it's going free to play this fall.
So this is just dovetailing with that. They're not really giving you something.
I mean, it's kind of crazy. So there's going to be other free games with it, but they haven't announced any of them. Mm-hmm. So honestly, I thought it was a good service. If it was free and it worked like Netflix, hell yeah, sign me up. As a subscription-based thing where I have to then buy the game?
Yeah.
Fuck no.
All right. Well, I'm actually going to take that to segue into my stuff. Hi, I'm Colin. It's my turn because I actually want to start with something similar. But first, I need to point out the irony of the fact that I said Mad Max came out 4 years ago, and then Ryan said, I'm old, and we're all like, oh, yeah. But Mad Max came out decades ago. Mad Max Fury Road came out 4 years ago.
Oh,
Semantic thing that I thought was amusing. Anyway, moving on. So Stadia is like Google's game streaming service. So first thing I'm going to talk about in regards to E3 is going to be Project Scarlet, which is the code name for Microsoft's new Xbox console coming holiday 2020. Now, I want to say right off the rip, almost everything that's confirmed for Scarlet is like also confirmed for the PS5 to some degree, though Scarlet we have, I think, a clearer idea of how things will be implemented. So what I want to start with is the idea of streaming, because Microsoft also has their Project xCloud, which is they're going to be their streaming service. And on its surface, I think it's going to be a lot like Stadia, because Xbox is a platform where you can buy games, but you like pay to subscribe to their cloud streaming thing. But I agree with you that like Stadia seems pretty underwhelming in this regard, because it's coming out to cost a lot more than everyone realized.
Yeah, it's honestly pretty shitty service at this point. They're gonna have to change a lot of stuff.
Yeah, and what I think Microsoft is going to be doing that's cool is the console streaming, which I mean already exists to some degree in a lot of places, including PlayStation. But the way that it's going to work is if you have, like, I have an Xbox One X and I'm going to get the Scarlet, whatever it's called when it comes out, I don't have to pay for xCloud. My Xbox is my server, and then that's it. I get all the benefits of that. I'm just running it locally. And with Google, there's no equivalent of that. And that goes into all the questions with Stadia of what is game ownership in this landscape? How, like, where do the users actually have control over this material? And I think what already makes xCloud seem like a nicer proposition is the fact that you have this local alternative. For me, I want it for the fidelity, but for a lot of people, like, it's going to be for the control. Like, that's going to be a huge part of it. And aside from that, the Scarlet has piqued my interest for a couple of things. One, it's going to be a lot more powerful. They're using a higher speed RAM, a new custom processor. Again, all like what the PS5 is going to do. But they discussed in some detail the use of the solid state drive in it. Like right now, the Xbox still gets some flack for using, and PlayStation gets some flack for having hard drives in them instead of solid state drives for the sake of loading speed.
Hard disk drive.
Hard disk drives, HDDs. The drives in the new console are going to be solid state with like a high end. I think it's some form of PCIe, some new PCIe spec that is going to allow the read and write speed to be so fast that they can utilize the solid state drive itself as virtual RAM. Like the storage is going to be high performance enough that it can serve as random access memory. And the interesting, the functional thing about that is loading environments. You no longer have to deal with the bottleneck of just loading stuff from the storage into the memory so that you can play it. It can just rip it straight out of the drive, and it just loads environments instantly. So loading screens are maybe about to become a thing of the past with this new generation.
That's pretty dope.
Yeah, and it's something I never really considered. Like I think like everyone else, I assumed loading screens were a necessary evil. And as someone who's played Sonic the Hedgehog 2006 multiple times, they're burned into my memory as like being gigantic disruption to bad game experiences in the case of Sonic 06. So I think where I've been wanting the death of the console for a while, even though I'm a console gamer, but I think the way that this is moving, where it's less about like this is where you play games and more about this is a hub that things center around, which is like the server aspect that Microsoft is going for.
For all of your entertainment needs.
Yes, yeah. It is truly your one-stop Xbox one-stop shop for entertainment. Remember when that was a thing?
Oh boy.
Yeah, so I think that the new console generation is going to be a lot more valuable than I expected it to be, but I'm glad to see steps being taken to sort of break down a lot of the things that currently divide players in this landscape. I think Destiny is the best example for that. This wasn't June news, so I'm not going to spend a lot of time on it, but if you couple this whole Project Scarlet business with the fact that Destiny is showing that like cross-save and cross-play are coming to like big AAA games, independent publishers are now muscling around the big publishers, like we're going to start to see a little more freedom and a little more pro-consumer stuff, especially with Microsoft, because they are being very cooperative with everybody and sort of just putting their shit out there.
Yeah, actually, something you just reminded me of, because we started bitching about Stadia for a little bit there. I actually saw something just on like Friday that apparently because I need to look this up to make sure that I'm not misrepresenting anything, because if I say this sentence, you're gonna be like, what the fuck?
Okay.
But yeah, no. So apparently, so as far as like control over your game and stuff goes, I'm not sure how much this actually has how much something like Stadia would actually affect this kind of behavior. But like, Google has not been known to stay true to their motto of not being evil.
Yeah,
and
it's not their motto
so,
anymore.
Yeah, no, I know. They really didn't stay true to it. But yeah, no. Recently, actually, yeah, June 23rd. U.S. government bans League of Legends in Iran and Syria. So apparently, the U.S. government got Riot Games to just not allow people whose accounts were based out of Iran or Syria to play anymore, which is like
kind of crazy.
Yeah, I mean, for a game, League is still pretty large.
Hitting them where it hurts, though.
Yeah,
but riots in the streets.
It's just wild to me that, like, you think of that, like, that doesn't seem like this is like this huge political thing that they're doing. It seems weird and very, like, it seems like a little blip on the radar, because most people think of League just as like, oh yeah, it's this game, they have esports and a terrible community.
Yeah.
But like, I don't know, it seems kind of chilling to me that like the US government can just be like, hey company, you want to just not let people within your servers have contact with certain individuals from various countries? Yeah, thanks. And
yeah,
I don't know, seeing Google
sketchy.
Stadia having that sort of.
I mean, also look at what the U.S. government is doing with like Huawei, so like, or Hua, however you pronounce it. I think it's Huawei, but yeah, no, that's sketchy. On the note of sketchy, I do want to talk about something else that's not game related at all. Yeah. Apple also kicked off the month with their Worldwide Developers Conference, where they announced all this new software. They announced iOS 13, a new Mac Pro, Mac OS Catalina, all these new things, dark mode on iOS, like a lot of just like some necessary quality of life things, some very cool things. But there's one thing that sort of made some waves. And that is, you guys know how when you go to sign in to certain websites, it'll say like sign in with Facebook or sign in with Google, right? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Apple created a sign in with Apple button. And Apple is very privacy forward. They stake their reputation on not harvesting consumer data. I've seen instances of how difficult to impossible it is to access that data at all. And I do believe that there is a lot of honesty behind them at least not trying to have that data. What they have and what they do with it, whatever. But like they try to keep it out of there. And the sign in with Apple button, it doesn't actually share your information. And if someone wants to check your email, it'll create dummy emails that forward stuff to your email, and you can cut it off at any time. But it doesn't actually give your your private information to them. It just uses the Apple credentials, almost like PayPal does for payments, to just route it through a third thing. So that's all well and good. It's a cool concept. I think it's great. But Apple has said that any app in their app store that has sign in with Google, sign in with Facebook, needs to put the sign in with Apple button in the application, and B, needs to put it above the other two buttons.
Oh my god,
that's monopolistic though. They can't dictate that though.
So
I mean, they've dictated a lot of stuff about what kinds of apps are acceptable in their store already.
They actually got shot down. They can't do that anymore. I thought I read something pretty similar recently, that the Apple Store was considered a monopoly by a U.S. court.
That's not true. Here's what happened: is Spotify brought up a bunch of stuff about how it's because we can't, if we sell stuff through Apple, they take a big chunk of it. So we'd either have to raise the prices or redirect people elsewhere. But they don't even let you say, hey, go buy this somewhere else where it's cheaper. You can't do that in the apps. And the thing that happened recently was the Supreme Court said that people have the right to bring the lawsuit against Apple. Apple tried to dismiss it, but there's no ruling on whether it's a monopoly, especially because market share in the U.S., Apple has maybe 25, 30%. So it's still sort of being discussed and litigated, but in the midst of all these antitrust things and people talking about breaking up tech corporations, Apple puts that out there, which I think the sign in with Apple button is great. And I think that on its own, I don't see a problem with it. The implications of it are really far reaching. and I'm interested. Especially, I used to work for Apple. Like, I care very much about seeing like how these things are handled. So
it seems like the type of misstep I expect from Apple at this point, though.
yeah, no, I'm with you on that. I think there are going to be some changes based on how that's handled. But in non-gaming news,
I mean, I think thinking generously about it, you could say, well, maybe they were thinking, oh yeah, if we just
maybe
say,
they were thinking.
well, no, if you say maybe they were thinking about like, the way that a lot of companies that want to have your data to sell to other people, like they would, if you just mandate that they have to like have that as an option, they would put it down at the bottom of all the options in a dull gray button on a white background, and then you would see the red ones first. So if maybe they just want to make it so that like if it's the safe option, it's visible for you.
But the thing is, like, the legislation that passed in the EU last year, which was the GDRC, I don't remember. It was like a big privacy thing. And a lot of companies in the United States now follow those regulations because, like, it's easier to do the same thing in both countries. But, like, the U.S. doesn't have those kinds of laws about communicating privacy stuff and data to customers. And Apple seems to be the only company intent on, like, going beyond what those EU regulations said. But this is a way of doing it that, like, is really gonna... It's really going to grind some gears. Now, I want to talk about one last teeny tiny thing. I want to end my bit on a high note, and it's going to be super quick. I saw Toy Story 4.
Oh, yeah?
Fucking fantastic.
Oh, goddamn it.
So
nice,
good.
That's good.
So good. I think, like, everybody, when 3 ended, I'm like, that's the perfect ending. And a lot of people were apprehensive about 4. I kind of had the thought of, like, well, they know it's sacred ground. They wouldn't make it unless it was a good idea. And boy, was I right. They had a good idea.
That's great.
Okay.
If you'd asked me before the movie came out, like, do you need Toy Story 4? I would have said, nah, I'm good with 3. Having seen Toy Story 4, I'm kind of like, you know what? I would be sad if I didn't get to see this movie. Like, knowing what it is now, it's very different. It's very emotional. I cried. My girlfriend cried more. The guy behind us broke out sobbing. So
amazing.
I did almost cry in the first one. So.
Yeah.
Par for the course. Like, I remember, like, seeing it with the girlfriend at the time and, like, literally having to hold back tears.
Yep.
Like, don't cry.
Yep.
Don't cry. It's gonna be okay.
I saw Toy Story 3 when it came out in theaters. Pat Brehm, we went on a double date with our girlfriends at the time, and he was the only one that cried. And I still think that's funny. It's not bad at all, but it's just interesting given like the landscape of people there. But yeah, Toy Story 4 is delightful. It is hilarious. It's worth your time. It's very fun, and it's new. Like it feels like a different take on it. They didn't retread any ground, so
that's great.
Good on them.
Yeah, that's really good to hear about a Disney movie that's coming out in 2019. Actually,
yeah. Very fair. All right, I think we're gonna push it into the ratings. Let's kind of zip around. We've covered a lot of ground here.
Yeah, honestly, a lot more than I thought we would.
Yeah, let's throw out our pitches. Austin, what do you think of what we've discussed would be your top story for June?
Top story for June
for Geek News.
Okay. Let's go over this again. We just did your stuff. I talked a little bit about Elden Ring and then Pokemon and Super Smash Brothers. Ryan, you talked about Final Fantasy VII. And then was your second thing just about Stadia generally?
It was Final Fantasy VII, Avernus, Avernus, and then Stadia.
No, I don't know why I forgot about D&D. That's weird. And then I'm not sure. I think I would probably, if we're talking just geek news, because I think some of the other stuff has implications for non-geek news, like the Apple thing. I think may not be like a huge geek news thing, but it might be like a huge privacy rights thing. So I'm gonna say probably Final Fantasy VII, because even as much as I like the stuff that I talked about, and I am in it, like in those communities, I think that Final Fantasy VII is kind of a very large demographic, with fans of that single game, even out of the Final Fantasy series. Yeah,
no, so that's totally fair. Ryan, what do you want to throw in the ring here for for top story?
Oh boy. I think if I had to choose one thing, because I also kind of talked about a little bit the Xbox, when you're talking about Project Scarlet, and kind of it's how it connects with Stadia a little bit, but you have like a home server. That kind of I think was the thing that got me, because Stadia got me thinking about it, because I was actually kind of pro Stadia a little bit, because I was on the beta.
We talked about it in that episode where I threatened to burn down Oscar Mayer.
Yeah. Yeah. But yeah, I was on the beta and I played it. I thought it was a really good way to play the game. I thought it worked out really well. Of course, I have like really high internet speeds in this area, but like I thought it was like this could be the future. And then in the back of my head, it's like, yeah, it's the future and it's gonna suck. And the back of my head was right.
Yeah.
You're gonna pay to stream something. It's not even gonna be locally. And if the power, I don't know, like internet shits its pants for an evening, like it's 1 to 2 sometimes. You're not gonna be able to play the game you want to play.
Yep.
Yeah, not to like overstate anything, but it's like Cyberpunk 2077 is like gonna be released, and then suddenly it's just gonna be real life, and nobody's gonna play the game.
Oh my god, we're gonna have metal arms and
Keanu Reeves
bullshit. Yeah, Keanu Reeves are gonna be in our head all the time.
All right, so I gotta cast my vote here. Now here's the thing: I was thinking either Final Fantasy VII or Project Scarlet, and
you can't choose your own thing though.
I'm discouraged from choosing it. Well, I think the implications of Scarlet are interesting. I think the more immediately interesting thing, honestly, is because remake culture is obviously at like a zenith right now. It is like in every medium, it is permeating entertainment. And Ryan, the absolutely buck wild truth of Final Fantasy VII you described to me today is super fascinating. I never considered a remake could be handled like that, and if it does well, that could sort of change the landscape, because I mean ultimately Stadia and Scarlet are going to be vehicles to give us these games, and what if this is how games are made now?
Yeah, what if we get like a similarly expanded remake of like all of the Mario spin-off games?
Well, okay, we made an entire game that is World 1-1. Go.
Yeah. You remember that one level of Mario Party, like the first 20 steps, the first quarter? We've made that the whole game now.
I was thinking more the RPGs, but sure.
We've made Mario Party more Mario Party. Congratulations.
Twice as many spots on the board. No extra stuff, just more spots.
And if you land on this particular spot with enough coins, you can start a mini game, and whoever wins that, it's not like the normal mini games. You just play another game of Mario Party within this.
We made the mini games into full-length games.
If you step on this square, you have to play all of Super Mario 3D World.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. So Final Fantasy VII, and it's crazy, either ambitious or horrible, depending on your perspective, way of distributing a remake.
Honestly, it could be both.
Could be both.
Yeah.
I really think it's going to be up to how they handle it and how fans respond. I'm interested. I'm definitely interested. That about wraps it up. That was this month's Common Briefing program. I've been Colin, your host, joined by Austin and Ryan. As I recall, neither of you are super active on social media to follow.
Yep, that's true.
Yeah, no, not yet. Maybe. I have a lot of time this summer, so I might decide to make more bad decisions. Something I think that we should get clear though is if we keep up this trend of just having the three of us doing all of the Common Briefing program things, you're going to have to start referring to Ryan and me as correspondents.
Yes, that's true. That's true. I'll be running into some labor law issues if I don't give you guys the what you've truly earned here. Cool. If you do want to follow me, my name is Colin. My handle is Sonic Colin K on Twitter and Facebook. We have another episode of Common Geeking Program coming out in about 2 weeks. Actually, I think there's one out today. We ran into a scheduling kerfuffle, so I think there's another episode out today, and then another one in 2 weeks, and the briefing programs happen first Friday of every month. We are going to be making some changes to the release schedule. First and third Friday of every month, we're going to have these podcasts. On the fifth Friday, if there is a fifth Friday in the month, Patrick is going to host what he's been calling the Common Beefing Program. So I'm actually kind of excited to see how that works out. I don't think we have one of those for a few months. How you doing? The podcast I do with Laura, we just put out a third episode earlier this week. How You Doing? A Friend Cast from Far Away is on iTunes. There's Dice Populi, not out yet. I keep talking about it, but it's not out yet. It'll be out eventually, probably in a month after you hear this. I think that's it. I mean, check out commongeekingprogram.com. We put some stuff on there sometimes, and our Facebook is where we make posts asking you to give us content ideas, please. I think that's about it. These have gone a little off the rails since I stopped using a script. So I'm going to have to, you know what, I think I'm going back to scripts. I'm going to write out something eloquent and beautiful, and Ryan can't say a damn thing if he wants that correspondent pay bump.
No, you should just record the script and then leave spots for people in the episodes to, like, say the word that needs to be put in for that, like the name or the date.
That'd be a more interesting podcast. And I'm joined by Austin.
Yes, that's
go.
Exactly what I'm thinking.
It'd be easier to edit. I just need you guys to say like 4 different words, and I can release the same thing every month. It's beautiful. All right, cool. Well, thank you, Austin and Ryan. It's fun talking to you guys, and maybe talk to you both next month. We'll see what happens.
Yeah.
Yeah, see you next time. Maybe?
This episode of the Common Geeking Program was hosted by Colin, joined by Austin and Ryan. This month's episode of the Common Briefing Program is sponsored by Metroid Samus Returns, because I wanted to talk about it because I just started playing it, but that game is 1.5 years old, so it's not news. Damn it. The podcast is created by Colin Ketchen, Jeff Leavitt, and Pat Brehm, produced by Colin and edited with original music by Colin, which is me. It's me. I did that stuff. It's pretty cool. In 2 weeks, we will be back with another episode of the Common Geeking Program Book Club and get another recap of monthly geek news at the beginning of August, first Friday of every month. So tune in then, and thank you for listening to this.
Sounded okay.
Yeah. Okay. I'm eating. Okay. You guys may have this knowledge. What flavor is the blue Skittle supposed to be?
I haven't
There's a
eaten
blue
a
Skittle?
Skittle in like years, I think.
So you're eating a different form of Skittles. You're not eating Skittles Classic, are you?
I mean, everything else
I don't think
in this
classic
bowl.
Skittles had a blue.
No, it didn't. But like, I know they also just like changed the green from like lime to apple or whatever.
Yeah, which is a terrible move. Awful move.
Yeah, I'm eating it right now. Doesn't feel good. What are these blues? Hold on, I'm very confused. Let me try this again.
They're Skittles.
I know, but like, they're just sitting in front of me. And my
Blue
girlfriend's
Skittle. Maybe that's a new thing.
Maybe.
Maybe you're colorblind.
Are you sure they aren't? Wait, no. They have added blue.
Don't tell me
Blue
the
is a
flavor.
new
Hold
thing.
on. Hold on.
It says blue is here. It doesn't give a flavor. It just says blue is here.
Yeah.
Yeah, it gives no
What is it?
flavor.
It kind of tastes like apple ham. I don't know. I can't like.
What
It's
the
not ham, but
fuck?
like ham is the word that comes to mind. I don't know why. It's like savorier than other Skittles, and I'm baffled. Like
Yeah.
it doesn't taste like ham, but my brain is telling me ham. Like why?
I mean, when I search blue Skittles on Google, the first thing
Yeah.
that comes up is a website called Spoon University, and it's an article titled "Why the
Yeah.
hell are there no blue Skittles?" And I don't know what the fuck.
Mine came up with blue Z Kittles strain information, and it's talking about weed.
All right,
Amazing.
not quite. You know, the more I eat this, the more it kind of just tastes like a rejected Airhead.
Yeah.
I don't know. This is a weird problem to
But
have.
yeah, everywhere I look, there is blue. Oh, it's supposed to be blue raspberry, but blue raspberry isn't a real flavor. Other stereotypically blue flavors and fruits get shuffled into the purple category. Think blueberries, grapes, and blackberries.
Yeah, doesn't taste like raspberry. I
Oh
like
no, this
raspberries.
is the Spoon University thing. So yeah,
Oh,
I think it's.
okay.
I think the flavor is just blue.
Okay. All right.
Have some blue,
A
please.
Skittle flavored Skittle.
I go into crisis every time I go and order an icy at a movie theater because I'm always like, can I have? They're like, what flavor? And then I say blue, and nobody questions it. Not myself, not anyone else. But there is
Yeah, I mean,
something
yeah,
fundamentally
blue is a
wrong
flavor.
about that. Like, it's not though. What is it? What does it mean?
Was
Anyway.
a Cool Mountain Rush Gatorade? Yeah, it's just it's a thing. It's ephemeral. It's more about a lifestyle than it is
You know
about
how
a
you
flavor.
stick your tongue out when you're falling down a mountain? Make that a soda. Or energy drink. Whatever.
Shit.
Sport drink, not an energy drink. We should probably start.
Maybe.
Okay. I'm gonna get this fucking skill out of my tooth.
Yeah.
Well, I'm not gonna chew all this. I'm gonna spit it out.
You chewed it for this long, and then you just...
Well, I was working. It was too much work. It wasn't worth it. All right.